a beautiful woman, just to get my attention. Actually smashed my Rolls-Royce in public, by the time I arrived. She wasn't the least bit flustered. She even batted her eyes at me flirtatiously and said, "I know I can't afford to pay for the damage, but I'm willing to repay you with myself." However, just when she thought I'd be seduced by her looks and accept her offer, I glanced at her with disdain and said, "This car's damage is worth over $1 million. Do you really think your scrawny little body can cover that cost?" Chapter 1. I was sitting at the top floor of a luxury restaurant, enjoying dinner while gazing at the city night view, but before I was even halfway through my meal, the manager and floor supervisor rushed toward me in panic. They came up to my table, bowed deeply, and then the manager spoke. "Why, young Master Wang, the car you parked in the ground floor garage, it was smashed. We've got the person under control. Would you like to go down and take a look?" To be honest, I was startled when I heard that. Today, I was driving my Rolls-Royce, on the road. No one even dares to get too close, afraid of scratching it and having to pay for damages. I never imagined someone would be so bold as to actually smash my car. I put down my utensils and followed the manager to the first floor by elevator. There was already a crowd gathered around my car. The manager and floor supervisor helped me push through the crowd, and then I saw a pretty girl in a white dress standing by my car. It was Willow. She actually showed up. I looked at her blankly and asked, "Did you smash my car?" Willow brushed her hair aside and gave a soft, beautiful smile. She nodded and said, "Yes." The manager was almost about to faint from anger. He shouted, "What kind of lunatic are you? Do you even know how much this car costs? You smashed it. Can you afford to pay for it?" "Young Master Wang, this really isn't the restaurant's fault." The security did try to stop her. Willow didn't even glance at the manager. She just stiffened her neck, eyes slightly red, and stared at me. "I know it's expensive. I really can't afford it, but I can use myself to repay the cost of repairs." It looked like life had been tough for Willow after her rebirth. Saying something this shameless, and doing it in front of everyone, the crowd burst into teasing laughter. And Willow blushed. I couldn't help but laugh. I said, "The damage is over $1 million. You think your skinny little body is enough to cover that?" Willow looked at me in disbelief. She said, "George, look at my face. Don't you have anything else you want to say? Don't you feel something?" I gave her a puzzled look and said, "I don't even know you. You're just someone who owes me $1 million. What do you expect me to say? What am I supposed to feel?" Chapter 2. Willow's face turned as pale as a sheet of paper. Honestly, I couldn't really blame her. After all, in her eyes, I had always been nothing more than her ultimate simp. In our previous life, I met her while on a trip. She was drowning, and I happened to save her. Back then, she was also wearing a white dress, looking as pure and delicate as a white lotus blossom. I fell in love at first sight. I chased her for 5 years before finally winning her over. But just 2 months after we got married, I was driving on the highway when my car suddenly malfunctioned. The brakes failed, thinking I was about to die. I quickly picked up my phone and called Willow. With a bitter smile, I said, "Babe, don't panic, and don't be too sad. My brakes just failed. I'm on the highway right now. I might not be able to keep my vow to love you for the rest of my life." But Willow laughed. She said, "George, should I call you naive or just plain stupid? How could a perfectly good car suddenly lose its brakes? That was my wedding gift to you. A bit late, I admit, but better late than never." I was stunned. For a second, I thought I must have heard her wrong, but Willow wasn't done. She gave a small laugh and continued, "To be honest, I originally planned for you to die a few days later, but I'm already pregnant, and I can't have my child recognizing a simp like you as its father instead of his real dad, can I? But don't worry, my lover, our baby, and I will all be deeply grateful to you, because you never asked for a prenup. Once your body is shattered beyond recognition, your entire fortune will go to us. We'll live a wonderful life, so rest in peace, George." Oh, right, you actually know who the real father is. It's Makoto. As his dear uncle, it's only right you gave your life for your nephew. And just like that, with my beloved wife's mockery still ringing in my ears, I drove off a cliff, exactly as she planned, and died with not even a corpse left behind. Chapter 3. I was still lost in those memories, when Willow suddenly walked up to me and grabbed my hand tightly. She said, "George, look closely, it's me. I'm Willow. I'm your future wife." The manager couldn't hold it in and snapped, "Is she mentally ill?" Willow shot him a glare and said, "Shut up. Once George and I are reunited, you'll be kneeling on the floor begging me for forgiveness." The manager was speechless. Willow locked eyes with me and said seriously, "I know I can't afford to pay for the damage right now, but just look at me. You will fall in love with me. We're meant to be. We're soulmates. I don't know why you didn't show up the day we were destined to meet, but that's why I came looking for you." To be honest, I hadn't noticed until now. This time, I never saved her from drowning. Yet she was totally fine. So our so-called fateful encounter must have been a setup all along. I really was too foolish not to realize it. I threw her hand off me, coldly saying, "Save your delusional nonsense for the police. I don't need your body to pay off a debt. First of all, you're not worth that much. Second, I'll never fall in love with you. All I want is compensation for the damages." The onlookers around us couldn't hold back anymore. They began whispering among themselves. "Wait, it works like that. Then I'm gonna go find Daddy Elon. I happen to know his license plate number." Nah, better go with Bill Gates. He's already divorced. No home wrecking involved. I get it now. If you like someone, just smash their luxury car first. No way, this girl's got serious issues. Why does this feel like something out of a romance novel with a dumb but beautiful heroine? Haha, I thought it was going to be the overbearing CEO falls in love with me. But turns out it's the overbearing CEO sends me to jail. Chapter 4. Willow's face turned red, then white. As she listened to the murmurs around her, she mumbled under her breath, "No way. You were supposed to fall in love with me at first sight. This was supposed to be the beautiful beginning of our story. How could it turn out like this?" She tried hard to keep her emotions in check. Doing her best to appear calm, she said, "If you call the police now, you'll just have to work even harder to win me over later. You'll regret this. Don't call the police. I can go home with you and be your maid. I'll use my salary to pay for the car repairs." Okay. Naturally, I wasn't moved in the slightest. I picked up my phone to call the police. But just then, a hand reached out from the side and covered my screen. "Bro, don't be like this. It's just a car. You're not short on money. Look at this beauty crying her heart out like a damsel in distress. How could you not show her some mercy?" I turned to see it was Makoto. I felt a rush of satisfaction, though I didn't show it on my face. Today's plan was going perfectly. Makoto may appear to have nothing to do with me, but we both knew the truth. He was my father's illegitimate son. When my dad died, I ignored all opposition and had him cremated overnight. By the time Makoto came to claim his share of the inheritance, all he found was a box of ashes. He couldn't prove he was the illegitimate child at all. He could only stand by and watch as all of my father's assets went to me. If it weren't for the generous benefits my father had given him before death, he wouldn't be living so freely now. From that phone call during the highway accident in my previous life, I could confirm one thing: my death back then had been a conspiracy between the two of them. Sure enough, when Makoto reached out to help Willow up, a deep affection flickered in both of their eyes. Willow had never looked at me with eyes like that. Chapter 5. Makoto, feigning chivalry, held Willow's hand and turned to me, saying, "Come on, bro, just let it go. All right, I'm sure this lady didn't do it on purpose. No need to scare her like this. If word gets out, people will say the Wong family is petty even when we're in the right. That won't help your reputation either." Willow looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. That expression had been her ultimate weapon in our past life. Whenever she looked at me like that, I'd risk life and limb without hesitation. But now, I just smiled and said, "Sure, since you want to stand up for this young lady, how about you pay for the damages to my car?" Makoto's face turned a bit awkward. "Bro, I never said I'd pay for her. I was just suggesting you show a little mercy. Wasn't that one of Dad's favorite sayings?" I laughed. "First of all, my dad is my dad. Don't go claiming him. Second, I'm an only child. I have no brother. Third, if I let her off today after she smashed my car, who's to say someone won't barge into my villa tomorrow or stir up trouble at my company the day after? Am I supposed to just keep tolerating everything?" Makoto scoffed. "You've got so much money, what's the harm in letting it go?" I didn't argue. Instead, I smiled and said, "Sure, I'm rich, not stupid. Besides, you're rich too, aren't you? Since you're so eager to defend her like some white knight, why don't you pay for her?" Makoto rubbed his nose and muttered, "Why yeah, you're right. I shouldn't have meddled." He awkwardly stepped aside and said nothing more. As for Willow, her face looked like she'd just swallowed something foul. She looked left and right, clearly noticing that the crowd was growing, and many were filming the scene live with their phones. Lowering her voice, she pleaded, "George, please, we're destined to be together. I can prove it. Just give me a chance." I nodded and said, "All right, then go ahead, prove it." Willow seemed a bit embarrassed. "Let's talk inside." "Okay, it's a secret. I can't let anyone else know." Chapter 6. I could pretty much guess what she was going to say, so I didn't refuse. Instead, I deliberately stopped Makoto, who was about to leave, and said, "Come on, stay and listen. Don't you love drama the most?" Makoto wanted to go, but when he looked at Willow, he couldn't bear to leave. He gave a sheepish laugh and followed me into the private room in the restaurant. As soon as we entered, Willow couldn't wait to speak. "George, I know you were just embarrassed to admit it earlier in front of the crowd, that you fell in love with me at first sight, but now there's no one else around. You don't need to suppress your feelings anymore. Look closely at me. I'm wearing your favorite outfit today and use the perfume you like." Willow leaned in beside me and said, "You once said, no matter the situation, the moment you saw me, you'd fall in love. I know showing up like this startled you, but I had no other choice. This was the only way we could meet again and rekindle our bond. Of course I knew, after being reborn, I had deliberately avoided the riverbank and stayed low profile. Willow had tried countless times to approach me, but naturally, the security at my villa wouldn't let her in. If it weren't for some kind soul who told her I'd be dining here today and even gave her my license plate number, she might never have gotten close to me in this lifetime. But I didn't say anything. I simply smiled, sat down in a chair, and said, "Miss Stranger, just now you said you had a secret to prove something. Was your proof really just staring at me and waiting for me to fall in love with you on the spot?" As I spoke, the manager had already arrived with the police. I pointed at Willow and said, "Officers, this woman smashed my car. The damages exceed $1 million. Now she's playing dumb. Please take her in for investigation." The officers didn't say much, after all. The surveillance footage was clear. Without hesitation, they each grabbed one of Willow's arms and lifted her off the chair. "Ma'am, please come with us." Willow immediately shouted, "No, I'm Mrs. Wong. No, I'm the future Mrs. Wong. Let go of me." "George, look at me. You will love me. Don't suppress your feelings. You love me, right? Just admit you love me." She was crying uncontrollably, sobbing with snot and tears, completely stripped of the elegant goddess image she once had. But the police weren't moved. They simply took her away. Chapter 7. Finally, Willow couldn't take it anymore. Out of nowhere, she mustered up some strange strength and locked the two officers outside the room. Crying, she said to me, "Actually, I'm a time traveler. I came back from 6 years in the future. I know everything about you, and I know what will happen in the next 6 years. As long as you marry me, I can help your business soar to new heights." Seeing that I didn't interrupt her and even looked mildly interested, Willow seemed relieved. She continued, "George, 6 years from now, we're already together, married, with children. But then you had a tragic car accident. I came back to save you. The reason I smashed your car was, first, to get your attention, and second, because that car is the very one you were driving when you had the accident. That car killed you, so I burst out laughing. What a shameless way to twist the truth, I said with a smirk. I can't believe I wasted so much time talking to a lunatic. Let me make this perfectly clear. I could never love you. I don't care if you're pretending to be crazy or actually are, but the damage you caused must be paid for. If not, then get ready to go to jail. Willow looked at me in disbelief. But to avoid prison, she had no choice. In the end, she revealed a string of secrets, things only I knew. Makoto, who was listening nearby, looked more and more delighted as she spoke, but I remained unmoved. Instead, I smiled and said, "You really went all out to cling to me. You must have spent so much effort digging up information. How else could you know all these hidden things?" Willow shook her head. After thinking for a moment, she said, "I know. You've been hesitating over something recently, whether to invest in Morningside Corporation or Sunflower Corporation. No one else knows this, but I do. The right choice is." Chapter 8. Makoto's eyes darted as he quickly interrupted Willow's words. "Hey beautiful, forget it if he doesn't believe you," he said. "It's just $1 million. We're talking about a car here. I'll cover it for you. I just can't stand some people throwing their weight around." Without any hesitation, Makoto transferred the $1 million to me. Then, with exaggerated care, he helped Willow up and attempted to leave the private room with her. Seeing that I had received compensation, the police simply gave Willow a few words of advice, telling her not to act impulsively again, and left. Willow still seemed hesitant, but realizing I truly had no interest in her, she had no choice but to follow Makoto. Even as she left, she didn't forget to mock me. "George, you'll regret this. I was supposed to be your golden cheat code. One day, when you're down and begging on your knees, I won't even bother turning back." Watching the two of them walk away, I finally let out a breath. Perfect. My plan had succeeded. Makoto, Willow, you'll learn what it really means to hoist a rock only to smash your own foot, a classic case of self-sabotage. After being reborn, I'd fantasized countless times about killing them, but murder is illegal, and a second chance at life is far too precious to waste on revenge through violence. So I dug deep. I found out Makoto liked dining at this restaurant on weekends. Then, through a private investigator, I tracked all of Willow's movements. When I saw her posting online asking for advice on how to win back your husband from a past life, I personally reached out, suggesting the idea of crashing my car. Because in my previous life, I'd treated Willow far too well. She barely hesitated. She thought it was the perfect plan. If I didn't fall for her on sight, she could still use the excuse of repaying debt to get close to her. It was a win-win. No risk, all reward. Chapter 9. Soon enough, sparks flew between Makoto and Willow. Following Willow's advice, Makoto invested in Sunflower Corp. To his credit, he didn't go all in, but even his modest investment brought him substantial returns. Industry insiders praised his sharp eye for opportunity. Makoto practically worshipped Willow like a goddess of fortune. Meanwhile, I, just like in the last life, invested in Morningside Corp and lost everything. At an investment banquet, Willow appeared on Makoto's arm. Their expressions were identical, smug and condescending. Willow sneered at me and said, I heard you lost big time. It's not like I didn't give you a chance. You were the one who blew it. Makoto gave a faint smile and added, some people are just born pathetic. You try to explain things to them, but they'll never understand fate. So what if he schemed and stopped me from claiming my father's name back then? I'll restart the family legacy, with my name at the top of the genealogy. I'll make more money than our dad ever did, and when that day comes, you'll be the one begging me to be your little brother. I didn't bother responding. Dark-faced, I turned to leave, but Willow grabbed my wrist. Why are you walking away with that sour look? Don't tell me you regret it now, she mocked. I'll never forget how you humiliated me that day, just over $1 lousy million. You treated me like trash. I swear I'll hate you for the rest of my life. I'll be waiting for the day you go bankrupt and fall from grace. I simply smiled and said, you're this smug over earning a measly 10 million. Come talk to me when you've made tens of millions, hundreds of millions. That's when you'll maybe have the right to stand in front of me and ask whether I regret it. Chapter 10. Willow's expression shifted. She knew very well that my wealth wasn't something a few failed investments could shake. That was exactly why, in the previous life, even though she didn't love me, she still chose to marry me. Even in this life, after being reborn, she didn't go looking for Makoto right away. She came for me again because she wanted a shortcut to success. When you stand on a giant's shoulders, you naturally tower above everyone else. But my reaction clearly wasn't what she had hoped for. Although she couldn't make me regret anything, she still couldn't stand losing face. She said coldly, actually, I might as well tell you the truth. I really did time travel and come back from the future. But I lied to you. I never loved you. I did marry you, but I didn't have an ounce of feeling for you. And yes, I cheated on you. In our past life, you were like a dog, following me around barking all day. I found you unbelievably annoying. But since you took the inheritance that was rightfully Makoto's, I put up with it all. Fortunately, the heavens are fair. They gave me another chance to come back and help Makoto reclaim what he deserved. Makoto chuckled and said, babe, why waste your breath on him? A frog in a well like him could never understand divine will. One day, he'll regret it. He'll be on his knees in front of us, begging for help out of so-called family ties. Wouldn't it be more satisfying to say all this then? Willow nodded. You're right, babe. Whatever happens to him later, it's karma. I've already written down all the real estate projects and developments that are guaranteed to make money in the coming years. It's all yours. Makoto was visibly moved. At this point, he seemed to fully believe every word Willow said. The two of them kissed passionately in front of me like no one else was there. Makoto even threw me a few provocative glances, intentionally trying to taunt me. Chapter 11. The banquet ended on a sour note. Following Willow's suggestion, Makoto invested in a real estate project. Thanks to my subtle manipulation, he didn't just reinvest his last round of profits, he went all in. He mortgaged everything he had, his property, all his liquid assets, even borrowed heavily from banks. In short, it was an all-out gamble. And just as Willow had predicted, the property prices soared. When rumors spread that a subway line would be built nearby, demand exploded. The project became so hot, it was nearly impossible to even buy a unit. Naturally, the two of them couldn't resist showing up at my place to brag. I had nothing going on, so I let them in. Makoto made himself right at home, sat down, and said, I heard your investment tanked. No one's interested in that project of yours. There's not even a bus stop nearby. Looks like another massive loss. Huh? Willow sneered. Sweetie, why waste your time on him? He brought this on himself. You're too kind. You shouldn't even talk to him about this. What if he tries to ride your coattails and copy your investment? We don't need some rat sneaking in and stealing the fruits of our labor. Makoto ignored her and looked around my house. I've always liked this place, he said. How about you give it to me? Kneel down and bow to me, and I'll generously let you buy into our project as a partner. Sound good? Willow had a different take. Sweetheart, what's the rush? With how he's investing, he'll crash and burn in no time. If you really like this house, just wait until he goes bankrupt, then we can buy it for cheap. I chuckled and pulled out a stack of documents. Sorry to disappoint, I said, but I just got notice. Turns out they're building a school right next to my project. And not just any school, it's a top-tier one. So if you're waiting for me to go bankrupt, you'll be waiting a very long time. Chapter 12. Before the two of them could react, Makoto's phone rang. His face fell as he answered, then shouted in disbelief. What? The subway construction's cancelled. Why? How? Weren't all the permits approved? This project involved Makoto's entire fortune. His face darkened instantly, and without a second thought, he hung up the call and gave Willow a brutal slap. You bitch, you set me up, he roared. That slap, incredibly satisfying to witness. Willow looked stunned, as if she didn't understand what had just happened. She tried to act cutesy again, but at this point, there was no way Makoto was going to fall for her soft act. He looked like he wanted to strangle her on the spot. Gritting his teeth, he said. It blew up. The subway project's off. The investors all pulled out. We're finished. Willow let out a relieved breath. holding her swollen cheek, and said irritably, "Oh, please, it's not that big of a deal. I knew about this already. It's just temporary." Makoto asked warily. "Temporary? What do you mean?" Willow glanced nervously at me, clearly not wanting me to hear, but under Makoto's pressure, she was forced to explain. "This happened in the last life too, but don't worry, within 6 months, some new investors will build office towers and a commercial plaza nearby. Once that's up, the previous investors will return. Prices will surge again. It'll become the most sought-after development in the whole city." Makoto didn't respond. Willow, however, scoffed and looked at me with disdain. "I'm warning you, George, if you have even a shred of dignity left, don't you dare try to buy into our development. If you do, I'll look down on you. Not just me, everyone who knows about you and Makoto will despise you." Makoto, finally calming down, lost his temper again and snapped at her. "Couldn't you say that privately? What if he steals our investment? Or worse, tags along and we end up building profits for him?" Chapter 13. I chuckled and reassured them. "Relax, I won't touch your development. I have my own projects to manage. Yours, it's too small scale for me to even consider." They were still suspicious, but seeing how serious I looked, they left my house half believing, half doubting. But things didn't unfold the way Willow predicted. The supposed new investors never showed up. There was no commercial plaza, no CBD. The project ran into funding issues and gradually halted construction. By the 6-month mark, the development was officially abandoned. Makoto lost everything, not just his capital, but now drowning in debt. Meanwhile, thanks to the newly announced school nearby, my development soared in value and became the most sought-after property in the city. The two of them, now being hounded by debt collectors and with nowhere to go, showed up begging at my door. In the previous life, this exact real estate project had collapsed 6 months earlier as well. Back then, Makoto had invested a smaller amount, but still took a major hit. By then, Willow was already entangled with Makoto, and she was heartbroken over his loss. Every day she sighed in front of me, saying things like, "George, those poor people who bought into that project. It's so heartbreaking. If only someone could help them." And me, I was the ultimate simp. I couldn't stand seeing my goddess like that. So to make her happy, I spent my own money to build a plaza near that development and even bought land nearby to construct an office building. Because of my efforts, the entire project came back to life, but I had done all of it quietly. Willow never found out. After being reborn, I intentionally reinvested in Morningsun and lured Makoto into investing in Sunflower, just so he'd fully trust Willow, spend a little money, make them suffer a big loss. In my opinion, it was worth every penny. Chapter 14. With their investment completely wiped out, and debt collectors swarming around them, Makoto and Willow had nowhere left to turn. Late at night, they sneaked their way to the front of my villa, skulking in the shadows. Even though I already knew it was them lurking outside, I still called the butler and the gardeners and ordered them to give the pair a proper beating. They didn't hold back, not until Makoto was kneeling at my feet, sobbing and crawling like a dog. "Did I tell them to stop? Bro, it's me," he cried. "I'm not a thief. I'm your real brother." Makoto and Willow had been beaten black and blue, just like they'd said they never would. They were now kneeling before me, begging, "Bro, I know we're not full brothers, but we share the same blood. If Dad were watching from the heavens, he wouldn't want us fighting like this. Please help me. If you don't, the debt collectors will beat me to death. I'm only in debt for a few dozen million. It's nothing to you. You can afford it. Please, help me." I kicked his hand away in disgust. "Half a year ago, that's not what you said when you came to my house," I sneered. "Back then, didn't you say you'd take everything from me? Didn't you say I'd regret it? Already forgotten, have you? Because I haven't forgotten how you mocked me at that banquet." Makoto suddenly shoved Willow toward me like a sack of trash. "Bro, it's her, that bitch. Back when I was thinking of asking you for help with the Sunflower investment, she's the one who stopped me. She egged me on, stirred up drama between us. If you want to blame someone, blame her, not me." Willow didn't know how things had gone so wrong, how a project that should have succeeded ended like this, but she understood that Makoto was throwing her under the bus, so she fired back immediately. "You're full of shit. You told me yourself how much you hated George, how you'd kill him if you ever had the chance. That's why I helped you. And now you want to pretend none of that happened." Chapter 15. Makoto was stunned speechless by Willow's retort. Willow quickly smoothed her hair and tried to flash me a sweet smile. "George," she said softly, "everything I did it for you. I knew this development would collapse. I did it on purpose. My real goal was to make Makoto pay the price. He was always talking about how your money should have been his, how much he resented you. But I love you so much, how could I let you suffer? So I endured everything, all for this moment, to make sure he lost it all. Now I've done it. Now you can finally love me." I didn't say anything, but deep down, I had to admit, Willow's ability to twist the truth was truly unmatched. Makoto looked like he was about to pass out from rage. He didn't even stop to think whether Willow's words were true or not. He kicked her to the ground, straddled her body, and started punching wildly. George, I fell right into your trap this time. If you don't give me the money, I swear I'll beat her to death. She did all of this for you. You can't possibly just stand there and watch. What was there for me to feel bad about? I calmly watched as Makoto rained down blows on Willow. At first, she tried to blink at me pitifully, fluttering her lashes, still hoping I'd magically fall in love with her. But as the punches kept coming, and her body crumpled like a rag doll, her cries faded. She was beaten so badly, she barely had the strength to scream. If the noise hadn't drawn the attention of a patrolling security guard who called the police, Makoto might really have beaten her to death. When the officers arrived, I actually felt a twinge of disappointment. Still, I thought to myself, maybe it's for the best. If Willow died in my villa, wouldn't that just stain the place? Chapter 16. Makoto was arrested by the police on charges of intentional assault. Willow, on the other hand, was taken away by the ambulance that arrived soon after. Since she had no relatives, and the only person barely connected to her was me, the hospital contacted me first when she regained consciousness. Thinking I might get to see her in a miserable state, I casually got dressed and headed to the hospital. As soon as Willow saw me, tears welled up in her eyes. I knew it, she said. You love me. That's why you came to see me. Why won't you admit your feelings? If you just acknowledged our relationship that day I smashed your car, none of this would have happened. We could have had such a happy life together. I couldn't help but laugh. You ever played a game where they show MVP stats at the end of a battle? I asked. That's what this is. This version of you right now, this broken, miserable version, is the result of all my hard work. Of course I came to see it. Willow didn't understand what I meant. What are you saying? Wait, are you saying you were reborn too? I nodded. Yeah, I thought when I fell off that cliff, my body would be shattered, my soul gone. But when I opened my eyes, I was back on the day you faked drowning. I took a different path right away, but something still felt off, so I had someone investigate you. That's when I saw your posts online. I didn't need to finish. Willow understood. So it was you, she said. You told me to smash the car. You manipulated me into revealing I was reborn. You pushed me to get with Makoto. I nodded again. Not entirely dumb, are you? I paused, then went on to tell her everything I'd done since being reborn, every scheme, every setup, every calculated move. With every word, the color drained further from her face. By the time I was finished, she looked completely lifeless, like her soul had left her body. Chapter 17. After a long silence, Willow suddenly snapped out of her daze. If you're reborn, she said, then that means you must still love me. Now that Makoto's done for, this whole thing is basically thanks to me. I can forgive you for what you've done since your rebirth, and you can forgive me for everything I did in our past life. Let's start over. Okay. I really love you now. You're smart, calm, and you've always treated me so well. I regretted it. Ever since you died, I've regretted it so much. Maybe heaven gave us both this second chance so we could be together again. Please, don't go against fate. She looked at me earnestly, then slowly opened her arms, waiting for me to embrace her. I sighed. I genuinely hadn't expected Willow to be this shameless. Willow, I said, you murdered me for your lover. You think I'd ever love you again? You think I'd forgive you? I wish you could feel what it's like to fall off a cliff, your body smashed to pieces, just like I did. But Willow, clearly deranged, mumbled. That's impossible. You love me so much, there's no way you could just stop. In our past life, if I told you to die for me, you would have done it without hesitation. You're just pretending right now. You're trying to act strong to make me feel regret. Well, I do regret it. My love, I'm sorry. You can forgive me now. I rolled my eyes and said, I won't forgive you. Whether you regret it or not has nothing to do with me. But I will pay your hospital bill, because I'm still waiting for Makoto to get out and come looking for you. I want you two to turn on each other. I want to see you rip each other to shreds. And with that, I didn't even spare her a glance. I smiled and walked out of the hospital room. Chapter 18. Since Makoto and Willow had registered their marriage during the 2 years they were together, the assault Makoto committed against Willow was considered domestic violence within marriage. As a result, he was only held in detention for less than 6 months before being released. On the day he got out, I personally brought the debt collectors to wait for him right at the detention center gate. We stood there shoulder to shoulder, chatting casually. When Makoto walked out and saw us, his expression was worse than crying. After that, I never saw Makoto and Willow again, but I certainly heard a lot about them. Unable to repay their massive debts, they were captured and beaten several times. The debt collectors even sent me photos and videos, convinced that seeing my own flesh and blood suffer might move me to show mercy. When I didn't respond at all, they simply sighed. Men, the rich really have cold family ties, but it was precisely because I was so heartless. Makoto and Willow were ultimately sold abroad, because they were still young and good-looking. Their lives weren't immediately in danger, but based on what I heard, the life they lived was worse than death. They suffered non-stop torment, and within just 3 years, both of them were dead. Rumor had it, they died in agony. When I got the news, I felt nothing but satisfaction. After all, they finally paid for what they did to me in my past life, leaving me to die broken and dismembered. After their deaths, I bought that abandoned real estate project at auction and followed the original plan from my previous life. I built a shopping mall and a business district. Not only did I make a massive profit, I also gave the families who had once lost their homes in that failed development a place to live, a real home. Looking at the glowing lights in thousands of windows, I believe, one day, there will be a light shining just for me, and my life will be happy from here on out.